Welcome everyone to the virtual July Tech Industry Luncheon webinar. I'm Bill Spruill, I'm the CEO of Tech Titans, and it's a pleasure to help produce this virtual event today, and thank you for participating. Before I go into some remarks, I just want to make sure that I say to each and every one of you that I hope that you are happy and safe and healthy and your families are doing well. And I took some well-deserved time off recently, and it's important that we all refresh. So don't forget to take care of yourself and refresh. It will do your body and your soul and spirit good. I want to thank MarketScale for live streaming today's presentation. MarketScale is a Dallas-based marketing and branding company that helps the world's leading brands create and distribute content while building engaging media channels that helps them grow. From branded podcasts to virtual events to original video content presented in an on-demand format, MarketScale is powering the B2B content that is educating, informing, and inspiring innovation in virtually every industry. I'm in fact at their studios in downtown Dallas. I got introduced to them by Nokia. They are just a top-notch professional team, and I would encourage you to visit with them about any opportunities that you might have to produce a virtual event and live stream. The presenting sponsor of the Tech Industry Luncheon Series in 2020, again, is the UT Design at the University of Texas at Dallas. For a few words of welcome, here is the Assistant Dean for the Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science, Rod Wetterskog. Rod?
Thanks for having me today, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of UT Design and UT Dallas, I'm thrilled to join you today to hear James's comments on how Qorvo is helping us connect using their next generation networking solutions. Qorvo is a great friend and sponsor of UT Design Capstone. They've mentored electrical, computer, and mechanical engineering teams, as well as a computer science team. To learn more about how your company can benefit from UT Design, please check out our website, utdesign.com. Watch this brief video and contact us for more information or to get your questions answered.
Whether you're an entrepreneur or part of a top 100 company, chances are you have more projects piled up than you can handle. You would like to work on other projects but can't allocate resources and time without larger projects falling behind. There's just not enough to go around. What if there was a way to tackle this problem without overspending and sacrificing productivity, all while still getting the results you want? Meet UT Design Capstone. At UT Design Capstone, senior undergraduate students from all types of engineering and computer science disciplines come together to work on a project of your choice, helping you save time and resources. Here's how it works. You come to us with a real-world problem, and a team of senior design students will work to complete this project as the pinnacle achievement of their undergraduate curriculum. As a corporate sponsor, you play one of the largest roles in UT Design Capstone projects. A chosen corporate mentor from your company will serve as the technical point of contact for the project. A UT Dallas advisor will assist the corporate mentor and provide guidance to the team members as they execute the project for you, our customer. Our students will work together to build prototypes, computer programs, or simulation models depending on the project field. At the end of the project, students will present a final report along with test and evaluation results to accompany their completed project. And the best part is that it all belongs to you. As part of the UT Design Capstone program, your company retains full ownership of the results from the project. Your guidance and sponsorship will help give students real-world experience to prepare them for the future. Who knows? Maybe they'll even work for you someday. So what are you waiting for? Let us find creative solutions for your next project here at UT Design Capstone.
Rod, thanks so much for the sponsorship, and thanks to UT Dallas and UT Design for continuing to be a great partner and supporter of Tech Titans. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tech Titans, we are the largest trade association in the state of Texas for technology and technology-enabled companies. We have approximately 375 members ranging from large enterprises to universities, investors, lawyers, bankers, accountants, executive search and staffing firms and others. And it's a really powerful network that I hope that if you are a member, that you're taking advantage of getting engaged in that network during COVID. Programs like the Tech Industry Luncheon, the Tech Titans Awards Gala, and the recently announced 5G Grand Challenge are helping Tech Titans champion and service the technology community across North Texas. Speaking of the awards gala, nominations are open until August the 24th. We've actually set the date of the gala back to October the 23rd. So let me repeat that nominations are still open until August the 24th, and then we will produce most likely a virtual gala on Friday, October the 23rd. You can go to the Tech Titans website and click on the gala icon to take you to the nominations page where you will find the awards and their qualifications listed. And it's a great way for you to either promote your own company yourself, or maybe a customer or a supplier or somebody who you admire. This will be our 20th annual awards gala. We're going to make it just as meaningful during this period of time as in previous years, so I hope you participate. If you're not a member of Tech Titans and have an interest in joining, please contact Barbara Tunstall, our sales executive, via email at barbara@techtitans.org or by calling her at 214-455-9767 or just barbara@techtitans.org. We're going to have a survey at the end of the program that we're going to ask you to take about our presentation and give us some feedback to make sure that we're doing this as best as possible. And following the keynote presentation by James Klein, you will be able to ask questions by posting them on the comment section to the right of your screen. I will moderate the Q&A and ask them for you. So, James Klein is the president of the Infrastructure and Defense Products Group at Qorvo, a semiconductor company. The Infrastructure and Defense Products Division comprises a broad portfolio of industry-leading products and foundry services supporting applications including radar, next-generation base stations, and optical communications. Under James's leadership, Qorvo has experienced tremendous growth, and this was among the reasons he was named the Corporate CEO Award recipient at the 2019 Tech Titans Awards Gala. James's bio is below the screen, is posted on the Tech Industry Luncheon page of the Tech Titans website. I would be remiss, though, to not tell everybody that James is one of those Aggie fanatics. He got both his undergraduate and graduate degrees from A&M, as a proud supporter, and I think most of his family is required to go there, which is a good thing. And he is a double E, and he gives back tremendously to the university and to his community, and I very much appreciate all his contributions and leadership. Today, we're going to look at the opportunities and challenges facing the semiconductor industry and the changes being brought by the evolution of artificial intelligence, IoT, and 5G. Please welcome James Klein.
Hey, Bill, thanks so much for the kind words, and obviously thank for Tech Titans and the Chamber for all the great work you do in the area. Qorvo certainly had a tremendous partnership with both organizations and really has been instrumental in allowing us to grow in the region here. And we certainly have expanded tremendously over these last bunch of years since we formed Qorvo in 2015. So I can't thank you and your team enough for all of the help in allowing us to do that in the region. And we hope we'll continue to do that. We've got some great trends I'll talk about coming up that I think are going to fuel that growth, certainly in 5G and IoT. And so I look forward to continue to expand in the region and add engineering and manufacturing capability here. Again, thanks for everybody for joining us today. Again, a very valuable organization. We appreciate your time. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking today about Qorvo. I mean, that's my job. I have to tell you about the great company that we've built and the products that we have and really the fun that we have in the world that we support. So I want to talk about that. And then I'll talk some about industry trends that are going on. We're in a very interesting time. Obviously, COVID has affected us, and I'll talk somewhat about how that's affecting the industry. And then we'll talk a bit about what we see coming on in 5G and the Internet of Things. And I'm going to end talking about how we're engaged in the community broadly, both in the Richardson area here, but also how we partner with our universities and things like that, and kind of give you a view there. So appreciate the time, and I'll dive into the presentation now. As Bill talked about, I'm the president of Infrastructure and Defense. I think the defense part is pretty understanding. Infrastructure for us really means the data infrastructure that's around the world. And I'll talk more about the markets that we support, but we're really supporting the flow of data, predominantly from a wireless standpoint, but also somewhat from a wired perspective. So if you If you look at the organization, our goal is to change people's lives, and it's never been more important than it's been this year with the outbreak of COVID. We really want to make sure that the world's connected. We believe a connected world allows people to share information, to communicate better, and to really be able to focus in the areas where they want to focus. So we think we're positively impacting life. It's certainly a great time to be part of the Qorvo family and be able to do this, and especially in these times. If you look at the company in a whole, we provide RF solutions. We've got about 8,000 employees globally, a little bit over $3 billion. And we support really three key markets. The mobile device market, that is the other division of Qorvo. There's basically not a handset, a mobile handset or phone in existence that doesn't have Qorvo content. So whatever phone you're using today, you'll see us in the RF section and somewhat in the power management section of that phone. Defense and aerospace, we're in virtually every major platform that exists in the US and in NATO partners. And whether that be a radar system, an EW system, or a satellite communication system, we're supporting that. We've been in the defense business for almost 30 years, and we are a trusted supplier to the US Department of Defense for both semiconductors and for our packaging capabilities. So a very nice long-running business for us, and we take a lot of pride in what we do for the defense business. And then I talked about that network infrastructure part, and I'll go into more detail of the products that we have. Again, we're really trying to support the network and provide the ability to move data around the world. Our brand promise, I talked about us building this company in 2015 as a merger of two prior companies. And the promise that we bring to the market is really about innovation. We are an always moving forward, trying to innovate. Our relationship here in North Texas has been really important to that, because we develop probably our two most important core technologies are actually developed here in the North Texas area. So innovation is very important. Product leadership is important for us as well. I mean, great technology without getting into a product is not very rewarding. But buried in that product leadership is also an intense partnership with our customers. We really are seen by our customers as the organization to help them solve their toughest problems. And so we focus a lot on that, a lot in a partnership with customers around the world. Speed kind of ties with innovation, but it's really about how quickly can we get those products to market. And then if you're aware of the semiconductor business, a big part of that is scale. To be efficient, to run our fabs, to run our assembly test operations, we need scale. And the merger has certainly brought scale to that. I think it's helped us as a company, but it's also helped our customers be convinced that we're an assured supplier. So with all of that, we are attempting and continue to drive to be a recognized leader in this industry, and I think we are today, and we'll continue to push forward. Just a little bit about our global footprint for the company. Headquartered in North Carolina, in Greensboro, and one of the divisions, the mobile division's headquartered there. My division's headquartered here in Richardson, where I sit today inside the office. We've got our wafer fabs predominantly in the U.S. Our assembly and test operations are spread out everywhere from Costa Rica to China to operations here in the U.S. And then we have a sales presence effectively all over the world, and engineering design centers in many locations in the U.S. and Europe. I talked a little bit about that manufacturing scale and footprint. So again, I just want to show you, big capabilities in Texas. For those of you who don't know what things are like GaAs, that's gallium arsenide. That's a technology kind of a legacy technology that we use for creating amplifiers. BAW and GaN, those are the new technologies that are really hitting the market. BAW is bulk acoustic wave filters. So those are devices that allow our users to more accurately select the frequencies that they want to transmit data on. GaN is the new technology for advanced power amplifiers, and we're a leader in both of those technologies. We've got a capability in Florida where we produce filters, and then you can see also assembly and test in Costa Rica. We have two other large assembly and test facilities in China, in Dezhou and Beijing. And then we use a broad set of industry partners around the world for the supply of silicon and also for assembly and test. Now let me dive in a little bit into infrastructure and defense products. And what we talk about in IDP is connect, protect, and power. The connect part is, I think, obvious to you, how we're trying to connect the world with wireless capability. Protect really talks about a lot of different aspects of what we do in the business. The defense part obviously fits in that protect realm, but also what fits is the ability to connect things like your security systems and your wireless cameras. And we take really valuable part of the business is our ability to protect data. So security and data security is also very important. We did an acquisition last year where we really strengthened our presence in the power market. And so we also take a lot of pride in our ability to more efficiently power our devices and other devices. So that plays into the part of the market of trying to drive energy efficiency, trying to drive longer battery life for those applications that use batteries. And so you can see a little bit of sample of some of the products that we're in today. I'm going to talk more in detail, so I won't hit that on this chart. One of the really fun things about the job that I have today is all of the products that we're in. And you can see a large sampling here. I might kind of go through these. I sort of have a hobby as being in my role. I like to buy these products. And so as many as I can. Obviously, I have a hard time buying the defense products, but anywhere I can, I try to buy these products and use them at home. My wife looks at me a little troubled sometimes because I buy a lot of gadgets that have our content in there. But you can see on the left the applications that we support in the defense business, everywhere from large ground-based radars that are protecting areas and missile defense to aircraft and ships and satellite communications. So again, almost every major platform that exists in the U.S. and the NATO partners we're engaged in. In our wireless connectivity area, we're a large supplier into the smartwatch market. Hopefully your router and your distributed Wi-Fi systems have our products in there, our Wi-Fi products in. You can see a sampling here. Remote controls, we're probably by far the largest supplier of the RF chips that go in your remote controls that are across your house. And then also set-top boxes. And the bottom there is electronic shelf labeling, which we think is coming soon to multiple regions around the world. That really allows those sets of customers to constantly update pricing on their shelves based on a dynamic pricing model. So again, you move into automotive. This is a nice, attractive market for us. Connected cars are becoming more and more a mainstay. And so whether it's the LTE connectivity of the car, whether it's satellite radio or the Wi-Fi that's distributed inside the car, we've got products that support that part of the business. I talked about power management. This has been a new market for us. We bought a company that was actually here in the Texas region, very, very close to our offices in Richardson, that supply programmable power management capability. Today, we supply those products to a broad range of applications. You can see them here, really focused around two major sets of technology. One, the control of brushless motors. And those motors are high efficient, much smaller motors that are making their way in everything from consumer white goods to garden tools and battery drills, as you can see here. We also supply into the solid state drive market. So we've got a capability to control the power on those solid state drives. And obviously solid state drives are making a major push into the market, as well as brushless motors. And then I talked early on about this infrastructure part of the business, and 5G plays a big role for us. So we are definitely supporting a large set of 5G deployments beginning in China and around the rest of the world. But we also support the cable TV networks that exist and the satellite data networks that exist around the world. Little bit about the technology advantages that we have as a company. What we really bring is advanced semiconductors to the market. We use a tremendous amount of packaging capability, both here in the U.S. and Costa Rica and in China, and with partners to integrate that. This has been a big part of putting the company together, is driving our integration capabilities. And then, as I talked about earlier, we wrap software around many of those products, either application software or software that allows us to protect the data that we're moving. All those combined, we think, offer a great value for our customer base. Now, let me talk a little bit about the trends in 5G and IoT, and I'll start with 5G. COVID has really brought a surge of data, as I'm sure everybody on the call can imagine, about somewhere in the 10 to 20% range increase in data almost immediately in the U.S. in the March timeframe, in Asia, obviously a couple of months earlier. The vast majority of the population says that they greatly benefited from this connectivity. I know for me, it's been just invaluable, the ability to stay connected with family. The ability to work from home and work remote has been I can't even imagine a place if this would have hit us 20 years ago where we couldn't do this. So certainly we're providing a service there that's allowing economies to continue to move forward. 5G is coming on very, very quickly and expected to be a large number of subscribers by the end of this year. But as you'll see in some charts coming up, this is ramping faster than what we saw in the 3G and 4G deployments that happened a few years ago. We also see that somewhat of a trend of moving to fixed wireless access points. So this will basically be getting your internet over the 5G network as well. And about 25% of the world's mobile network data is going to be moving over these fixed wireless access points. So that's a new trend. And then you see also this trend of how much data is growing. So mobile traffic data continues to grow at a double-digit pace, and we see that sort of progressing. And I'll give Ericsson credit. They obviously have capabilities here in the region, and we use the Ericsson Mobility Report for this data that was released here just a couple of weeks ago. What is the promise of 5G, and where do we see the biggest impacts of 5G? And what 5G is really going to bring is enhanced data rates and lower latency of that data, and also a broad ability to connect to numerous devices. So you can see what's going to happen. Enhanced broadband everywhere, the ability to stream no matter where you are, I think, is a promise of 5G that will happen. The ability to connect smart vehicles and smart cities and things like that are another big ability of 5G. The latency ability with 5G will allow for autonomous driving on the network. IoT, I'll talk more about, but 5G is going to play an important role in the proliferation of IoT. I always ask everybody to do the same experiment. Think back to what you had in your house connected a few years ago, and you could probably easily count them. And today I would ask you to count the number of connections in your house, and I suspect you can't count them all. And that's the kind of increase that we're seeing. But it's no longer just home. It's industry connections. It's medical care. It's everything getting connected. And you see those in those two next bullets. We do think that 5G will drive a tremendous amount of industrial connections. We're seeing that already, and we think that trend is going to continue. And the same with healthcare. Never more has the ability to connect into your healthcare environment been more important. I know me personally, I've done numerous telehealth visits since the outbreak of COVID, and it's been, again, invaluable service for both the doctors and for the patients. If you just look a little bit more at this data, I talked about it going faster than what we saw with 3G and 4G. And if you look at the chart there in the middle, you can see the data rate. 4G, had a great pickup, but it started a bit slow. 5G is actually coming on much, much quicker. We see the handset suppliers all developing 5G capability and putting those products out on the market. The adoption rate of those products has been very, very strong. And now networks are also getting deployed, first in China, and then secondary will deploy into the U.S. and then rest of the world, including Europe. And I said China, I should say Asia, because also deployments are going very quickly in areas like Taiwan and Japan. You can see this number of subscribers, almost 3 billion folks on the 5G network by the time we get to 2025. And it will dominate the U.S. market as well. 74% of the folks will have a 5G connection by the time we get to that 2025 timeframe. I talked about fixed wireless. You can see that trend growing here. The light gray on this chart is the fixed wireless part of data. So this is, today a lot of folks talk about millimeter wave, but this is really, you putting a hub in your house that has got 5G connectivity and then transmits out in Wi-Fi. So it becomes, in a lot of people's case, their primary internet capability. Now, cable's not going to go away. Fiber networks are not going to go away. I suspect even DSL networks are not going to go away. But we do see a significant increase in the amount of data that will go through these wireless hubs into your house and in some industrial settings as well. Now, I want to move over to IoT. This is also a very important part of our business because, we supply IoT devices in many different standards. We're the leader in Zigbee. We also have a broad Wi-Fi portfolio, and we have a cellular IoT business as well. So we see massive amounts of connections, connected devices, and you can see it here in the data chart. In fact, it's going to triple just in this year, the number of devices that are going to be put onto the network. You can imagine that as I talked about earlier, whether it's your smart watch, your camera in your house, your door locks, your car, everything you can imagine getting connected these days. And the number of applications that we see is just almost overwhelming, what folks are going to connect in many different industries, industrial, medical, smart lighting, the grocery store application I talked about earlier. I could go on and on. Now, we see this trend continuing. Our focus as a business has really been about serving multiple protocols. We want to make sure our customers have the ability to connect any really way they want to connect. We focus a lot on data security because that's obviously very, very important as well. And then in many of our applications, we focus heavily on power because we know that these applications are going to be on batteries and we need to make sure that they get the ultimate battery life. So great business for us and a really great trend that's going on in the market. When you talk about connected home, we have kind of adopted something inside the company that we call one pod per room. And the way we think about this is it kind of started with these distributed Wi-Fi systems. You see those today offered from a broad variety of sets of customers that will offer you a distributed Wi-Fi system in your home. But you also see those capabilities in some of the smart home products that come from companies like Amazon and Google. So you see the hub content. Now, what's also happening inside that hub is many standards are getting adopted, Bluetooth, Zigbee, Thread, and Wi-Fi all coming into one hub. That really allows you now to have one hub in each room, and you can control everything from your lights to your television, the connectivity to your smartphone, your remote control, able to connect. You've probably seen recent commercials about Dish Network's remote control and the ability from your remote to now turn your lights on and off and lock your doors and, to be honest, order something on the internet if that's what you want to do. So this concept of having a pod in the room and everything being connected to it is the way we see the market rolling out. I think one of the things that we've seen limitations with this really happening in your home today is that you have too many hubs. You got a hub for every little application, and that becomes a little daunting. So we think that will go away as we go through the next several years, and you'll be able to integrate everything into one place. Now, I want to shift a little bit and just talk about the culture in the company. And probably before they do that, I want to talk about what we've done as a company as part of COVID, because probably the most important time for leadership that I've seen in my career is this COVID outbreak. Most of our employees are working from home. The ones that are in the building definitely, we want to know that they're safe when they come into work. And so at least in Qorvo, we've been very, very proactive in trying to deal with COVID. We learned a lot in our presence in China. So early on, we were able to keep our factories up and running and did not have a case in our Chinese factories. We took those lessons learned, moved them to the U.S. And as a leadership team, we meet probably about 3 or 4 days a week to talk about COVID very specifically. How are the trends going? What do we need to do different? What lessons can we learn? And again, all about keeping our employees safe during this environment. So the culture that we have in the company is, really trying to make sure we have an international culture because we do have employees all over the world. We want to contribute to great markets. So we spend a lot of time trying to encourage our employees to, understand the impact that they're making and the products that we have. We want to have a very dynamic, innovative, quick-moving culture, so we spend a lot of time on that. And then we want a culture, though, that's accountable to execution. Our customers demand that, and so a lot of focus on the company to make sure that our folks are accountable, that we have world-class performance, and that's what we expect out of the employee base. So. In general, really trying to focus on being a world leader in technology and moving quickly. That's the focus of the culture of the company. We want to make sure and give back to our community, and part of why I'm here today. We encourage our employees to be part of that as well. I told Bill in an earlier conversation that we had that we did have a lot of success in addressing COVID in our facilities in China. We took those lessons learned and certainly brought them back to Qorvo, to our Qorvo operations in the U.S. and in Europe and in South America. But we also shared those lessons learned very broadly with the industry groups, also with a broad set of customers and a broad set of suppliers. And for us, that was really all about, giving back. We wanted to make sure that, and competitors got that, obviously. We wanted to make sure that, we kept folks safe and were able to learn what we learned. And, this morning I walked in the building and I was scanned for temperature with an automatic system that's set up to do an IR scan of folks that come through the lobby. And you can't get in the door unless you're scanned and you have appropriate temperature. I didn't ever think I would see that in the U.S., but that was something that was implemented in our China facilities, and we brought that technology over and implemented it in our major sites in the U.S., and it seems to be working fantastic. We also want to be very engaged in the community. STEM is a passion for me. I think it comes from having several members of my family, daughters and son-in-laws that are teachers, and so being able to give back. So it's a passion, but it's also a business imperative. For us to continue to grow like we're growing as an industry, we need to develop that next set of talent. We also obviously have a lot of retirements that are coming down the path, and so we need to be able to backfill. So it's very, very important that we get that next level of technologists in the U.S. that are able to support those needs and really, around the world. So STEM's a passion and certainly a business imperative. Being a good partner in the community, both for an environmental stewardship, but also giving back is very, very important. And so we have a lot of initiatives to do that. And I think we've got certainly in North Texas, a great partnership with many parts of the North Texas community. We've got, I'll talk a little bit more on the next chart, but we definitely want to stay engaged because of STEM and because of that community give back. We want to stay engaged with universities. You can see some of those engagements. I almost edited this chart, took all the other universities out, and just put A&M in there, but I didn't quite think that would be fair. We definitely are partnered with UTD and thank them for sponsoring things today. And to be honest, we probably have more hires and more interns recently from UTD than we do have from A&M. Actively engaged, we've got almost 100 interns this year as a company. In fact, Bill talked about trying to replenish yourself a little bit, and so I've been trying to do a few things that were fun. And one of the things I did was have a Teams meeting with almost 100 interns. That was a blast, right? Talking to the brightest among us about their experiences at Qorvo and during COVID times. We donate to many universities with the equipment and some funds, and take any opportunity we can to go speak to the kids. I actually chair A&M's advisory board for electrical engineering, and so that we stay very close to A&M from a double E standpoint. So again, part of our culture is that we want to give back. Certainly to the university system. To be honest, we also do this all the way down to the elementary area. So we've sponsored many events with the local schools all the way down to the 5th and 6th grade level. Many a time I've come to the facility and we have it's full of young kids running around, and I think that's been very, 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 very good for that group of kids, and certainly fun for us and our employees. So, again, kind of a quick overview of where the company's going and what we see going on in technology. And I want to thank you again for the year. Bill, thanks for the award from Tech Titans last year. That was an absolute blast. I have to say I'm a little sad about not having the gala event. We'll see. I can't wait to see how you're going to pull it off virtually, but I would love to be in the room for the event. So. With that, Bill, I'll turn it back to you, and we can talk a little bit about Q&A.
Thanks, James. That was a great presentation, and yeah, it was fun seeing you get the award last year. I hope that trophy is well positioned somewhere in your office or home. And I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to you personally, and also to the Qorvo team for everything that you do to support our STEM efforts. Roger Hall, one of your VPs, is on the Tech Titans board, and your team is just absolutely passionate about engaging and inspiring young people to pursue degrees and careers in STEM. I've seen you personally, engage with students, and it's exciting to see an executive at your level doing that. I know it inspires those kids. And you may not be aware of this, but when we re-engineered our STEM camps and our approach to STEM 3 years ago, we started setting a pretty high set of metrics in terms of inspirations to students. We have now had over 16,000 students go through our STEM camps in 3 years. And, your company and you personally are a part of that, the reason that we've been able to achieve that. So just a big thank you from Tech Titans and me personally.
That's fantastic. I need all those engineers.
Well, absolutely. In fact, there was an interesting data point or survey that came out last month that showed that Dallas, the area, now has the second largest number of tech job openings of any region in the country. And so, the demand hasn't gone away. In fact, COVID probably accelerated it. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. And we need all the universities and community colleges and coding camps and others to kind of, just be really successful. So I want to encourage the audience to begin posting questions, and I'll read them. But I want to start off with 2 questions for you, James. One is, how do you foresee, and maybe you're already doing it, but how do you foresee 5G and IoT being deployed in your factories?
Yeah, it's a great question. Already, yeah, we've started deployment because what's important to a lot of factories is real-time data feedback on how equipment's doing. The old style would have been to calibrate a piece of equipment on some regular PM basis, right? Once a quarter, once a month, once a week, whatever. The new wave is connected machinery that's continuously monitoring parameters and feeding those back into a database. And so that connectivity plays a very pivotal role in the way we manufacture. Now we've taken that kind of the next step down and really employed some deep machine learning AI to start looking at the health of our equipment, the health of our processes, and trying to figure out what could be going wrong and where could we see yield hits and things like that. That's the application for me, but you can imagine many other applications in being able to control robotics, much more automation in factories, much more remote sensing, applications like sprawled out, oil refineries for here in Texas, and the ability to connect all those things and real time look at sensors that exist all around. So, I think you're just going to see it broadly, Bill. I think you're going to see it in the medical space. You will see, patient monitoring that's connected back in. You're going to see much, much more point of care testing. In fact, we have a platform as well, and you see that device being connected so that you get real-time data. It goes into a portal, being able to be analyzed. So I think it's going to be across many, many industries, the connectivity. And 5G is really going to enable that because it allows the number of connections to go way, way up. But it also lets data latency go way down. So the ability to do things like change robotics or manage robotics is all of a sudden feasible under 5G, where perhaps it wasn't under 4G.
And to me, 5G and IoT are part of the technology sets that you need to have what's called a smart factory, right?
Yeah. Smart city, smart home, smart car. It's probably all coming.
Right. We've got some questions that I'm going to from the audience I'm going to pose, but I want to get to the other question that you and I talked about previously. The semiconductor industry has been making a powerful push nationally and in Congress for legislation that would expand U.S. semiconductor manufacturing, the integrity of the supply chain, more R&D. And this all precedes COVID. I mean, this is really national competitiveness, national security. And your CEO, and I'm going to butcher his last name, I apologize, Robert, help me.
Rugerworth,
thank you, is the chairman or co-chair of the Semiconductor Industry Association. And Senator Cornyn from Texas and Representative Michael McCall from Austin in the House have both introduced legislation called the CHIPS for America Act that would provide some substantial funding to enhance the U.S. semiconductor industry. Can you talk a moment about why it's important that that legislation is passed and what it would do for the industry and Qorvo?
Yeah, it certainly has been a thrust of the industry and of Qorvo as well. And I also want to thank our couple local representatives here in the Richardson area that have also helped us in some of this legislation as well. Colin Allred and Van Taylor have been very helpful as well. What's important for the industry is semiconductors are actually the second largest exporter in the U.S. And so, we think it's not only very important for what's consumed here in the U.S., but it's also important for things like our trade deficit and our ability to export this kind of technology. And we certainly have seen, other countries around the world make more substantial investments in the technology. And so the push here is really by the industry is to get investment out of the U.S. government in sort of two forms. One, to help us with our R&D and so that we can continue that sort of core fundamental research and development that this industry's been known for years. And you can imagine all the technology that's brought. So we certainly are looking for some help and to continue that R&D. But also the ability to bring jobs from overseas back into the U.S. and onshore those jobs. That'll take some investment by the U.S. To help us with the building of those facilities, and probably also help us to make sure that those facilities stay utilized. So we're certainly very supportive of the legislative. CHIPS is one of those from Senator Cornyn. There's a couple other legislative initiatives that we're supportive of as well. And, I think our goal in general is to make sure that the U.S. semiconductor industry maintains the lead in technology and also enhances our manufacturing capability. We have fantastic jobs. I know that Richardson has benefited from that. And we just want to continue to enhance those kind of jobs here in the U.S.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot of activity going on in the semiconductor industry. I mean, the announcement by the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation to invest $12 billion over a period of time in some new factories in Arizona. And then, of course, you've seen a number of acquisitions going on in the industry as well. So, well, we've got some questions for you from the audience. One of them has to do with 5G and privacy and security. Can you kind of address that topic? I mean, is 5G a threat to privacy or security, or is it an enhancement, or is it just not an issue?
Well, I think it's the security protocols that are going to be in 5G are somewhat, and to be honest, on the IoT platforms that I talked about earlier, it's at the forefront of the technologies getting development. So it's developed. So I would say security is utmost, right? We know that to be able to connect a device inside your home, that you're not going to be willing to do that if security is not present. We know that you're not likely to let your car drive itself if you don't have network stability and security. Of course, the industry's been dealing with this for many, many years. Certainly in our defense business, we've been dealing with it for many, many years. And so I would say it's absolutely at the forefront of the standards that are getting set and the technology that's getting developed. As far as a threat, I would say 5G will continue to sort of improve and drive forward a more secure stance for the data.
I was participating in a panel discussion yesterday organized by the Dallas Business Journal with a bunch of CIOs and CTOs, and it was the number one thing on their mind, with the virtual workforce and people using their own devices, as the integrity and the security of the network and data. It's absolutely top of mind. Here's a great question for you. How does Qorvo balance the security of their defense products while continuing to manage its overseas operations?
Yeah, it's it's one of the things that I think is really a differentiator for us. And I spent most of my career in the defense business, and most of the times the defense contractors tried to do commercial work, and we typically failed. It was hard for us to strike that balance. And at Qorvo, we've done just a fantastic job in striking that balance. We have a lot of internal systems in the way we segment data and the way we segment access to be able to maintain that. It's part of why I mentioned earlier in my remarks that we are a trusted supplier. I meant that trusted is actually a name. It's actually a description from the U.S. government that we are trusted, certified. And part of that is all about our data integrity and the way we protect the U.S. government's defense data. So particularly, it's just the way we segment data and the way we segment access to that data that allows us to be able to do both. But on top of that, it takes a distinct dedication to the defense business. Our defense customers typically use products for much longer. They also use products earlier, so they drive technology. So sometimes that takes us being a little more patient with the technology. We develop it earlier, and then we got to keep it a bit longer. We also have to do very special things in quality. Many of our consumer products have quality requirements that are measured in years, and yet many of our defense products have quality requirements that are measured in decades or millions and millions of hours. And so I think that the organization has had to stay very, very focused on being able to do the defense role, while we don't lose our speed and agility that it takes to be able to do the commercial side.
Are the defense products manufactured mainly in the U.S.?
Yeah, that's been actually another part. Good thing to add. Our normal, if you call normal, the majority of our products, are designed in the U.S. and Europe, and then manufactured in a combination of U.S. and international facilities. We have to maintain a pretty much all U.S. footprint, not just in the wafer fabs, which are predominantly in the U.S. anyway, but also in assembly and test capability and data storage and all that has to maintain a U.S. footprint to be able to do business with the DoD. So we've got a world-class assembly and test capability actually as part of our wafer fab here in Richardson that allows us to support that the packaging capability for the DoD.
Gotcha. Right. So how is Qorvo, and this is a question from the audience, how is Qorvo utilizing artificial intelligence in building 5G products or in any other areas? How do you utilize AI?
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier. I would say, our first big push into AI has really been internally around data analytics and particularly in our factories initially. We are very much looking at ongoing, looking real time at the data that we've got coming out of both our machines, then certainly our test that we have at the end of the product flow. So we're using AI capability to try to very early sense where we may be having an issue.
AI is increasingly deployed in factories, and machine learning actually, is being utilized as a way to, program tool sets and so forth to constantly learn and to improve quality of production. It's a pervasive utilization of that technology that's actually getting smarter and growing in intensity, and a lot of investment in that area. Linda from Diodes, we would love to have you participate in our STEM outreach. Dave Galley is my Director of STEM Workforce Initiatives. And Linda, if you'll shoot me an email at bill@techtitans.org, I will connect you with Dave Galley, and he can get you engaged in one of our wonderful STEM teams that are inspiring students. So thank you for making that offer, Linda from Diodes. Got your back.
All right, Bill. So there you go. I'm connecting the world, but it wasn't flawless. So I hope I got all the way through AI. To summarize, we're using AI mainly in our manufacturing facilities today, but we certainly will continue to use the technology in a more broad way as we move forward.
Good. Does Qorvo work with recruiting agencies in order to keep up with the demand for top talent?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we certainly recruit at the universities and use the tool set to do that. But on particular challenge to fill roles, we are actively engaged with recruiters really all over the world. So yes.
So in addition to 5G, there is a rise in satellite internet like Facebook's Athena and SpaceX's Starlink. How is Qorvo anticipating that trend?
Yeah, we've been in the space business for decades, and I talked earlier about the question about how do you do DoD and how do you do commercial. Well, there's a whole other question of how do you do space and how do you do commercial. It requires really high reliability. You got to be able to survive a harsh environment, and so on the actual space side, we're actively engaged in many partners. We literally have millions of devices that are in space today in telecommunications applications. And so, definitely a big part of the company is that we have that capability and participate largely today. In fact, a recent SpaceX launch, we were proud to have significant amount of contact on the spacecraft that went into the space station. And RF was responsible for a lot of the docking systems. So we were excited to see that. But also on the ground side as well, we have a lot of technology on the receive side and transmit side, but on the ground stations, whether that be your local terminal or whether that be in the much more industrial type connections. So yeah, a big part of the business. I talked earlier about one of those things that I own, and actually we've got a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, and the only way I can connect and work from there is satellite internet. So it is one of the things that I own is a broadband connection through a satellite capability.
Don't be surprised if your wife finds a way to disable that sometime while you're out there.
I think she wants it more than I do, so she can get online. And
yeah, I know my wife would need it for Facebook and so forth. So you've been part of the space industry, you've been part of the defense industry, you're in commercial applications. And obviously if there are some of your chips in my cell phone, you're selling in consumer markets. Which of those markets do you see the biggest opportunity in going forward for Qorvo?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to tell you how much fun I've been being part of all that. Man, I've got to experience an awful lot, and so it's been so exciting to go through that and see some of the big defense applications, and remember times like being in the Lockheed plant here in Fort Worth and seeing an F-35 being put together, and being at the Cape in Florida and seeing rocket launches, and certainly today I get to see a tremendous amount of exciting consumer content and the ability to really make a difference in those areas. So I've had a blast experiencing all those different markets over my career. Today we've got a really strong trends going on in many areas. 5G is a strong growth driver for us because it pushes our base station business, and of course it also pushes content in the mobile handset. So it's a great driver of business. I will experience some very significant growth out of the rollout of 5G that'll happen over the next 3 to 5 years. IoT will do that as well because, as I talked about earlier, everything's getting connected. Data rates are going up. I don't see that changing at all. And then there are trends inside the defense business as well that will continue to drive growth for the company, really because the amount of RF that's going into a normal defense platform is accelerating at a great pace. So, we've got very, very good underlying dynamics in the company that will allow us to continue to grow. I didn't even talk about some of the exciting new things like some of the work that we're doing in the biomedical space and medical area and our push in the connected car. Those are all, sort of new markets that we're entering, power management that we're entering into that I think will also create great growth trends for us for many, many years forward.
Excellent. Well, I don't see any new questions on the screen in front of me. So I just want to really thank you again, James, for your time and your leadership and great presentation. Thank you for being a strong community partner and an investor in the region. Perhaps you might want to think about nominating some other CEO to win that award you got.
All right, I'll take the challenge. And yeah, same to you. Thank you for all the work in the region. I think it's paid tremendous amount of benefit for the region and really create an environment where we can bring great jobs, right? It's a great place to live, great place to work. And so we really appreciate all of that. And thank you so much for the award. And yes, the trophy is in the very center of my bookshelf in my office. And so it is prominently displayed. I very much appreciate it. And so again, thanks. And thanks for everybody online that has joined us today and spending an hour with us. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully when you're looking at all those systems and when you hold your cell phone in your hand or you look at your router at home, think a little bit of Qorvo, maybe your remote if you're watching TV. I know me, I've watched more TV in the last few months than I ever want to. So, think of Qorvo a bit and appreciate your time.
James, thanks so much. So our next Tech Industry Luncheon will again be a virtual presentation on August the 21st with a panel discussion led by Dean Jones of Microsoft using best use cases from companies on how they use deep learning, artificial intelligence, and hologram technology to improve productivity and customer experiences. 3 companies will join Dean to showcase best use cases. I'm looking forward to that. I definitely want to see how they use hologram technology to improve productivity. Remember that we've got a survey out on this presentation, and we would greatly love your feedback. So before you sign off, please take that survey. And information on this and all of our programs can be found at www.techtitans.org. Stay safe, stay positive, replenish yourself, care about those around you, give back to your community, and thank you for your time and interest in Tech Titans on our presentation today by James Klein. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.